And spawning in the top right-hand position, it is Root Sage as the blue Protoss. His opponent in the red, in the bottom right-hand corner, is going to be Evil Genius's Revival.
And we see a quick probe scout here from Sage.
This is so lucky, but it's also a little bit of a tell. A lot of times when you see a probe scout this early, kind of thinking, okay, it's probably not going to be a gateway expand.
Yeah, it's just, it could either be a cannon rush, or they're doing it because they want to take a quick nexus and they want to make sure they're safe. This is one of the maps where Zerg will 10-pool more than other maps, because more often we see a Protoss go nexus first.
Yeah, it's a 4-player map, so it's really easy to do that. You can see his spawning pool is going to be put down. Revival knows. The reason why we're saying that it's a Forge Fast expansion normally is because when you do Forge Fast expand, you need to know and optimize your build as much as possible. Sometimes you get the Nexus really fast, as you said, Nexus first, and then put down the Forges. Sometimes you have to put the Forge down in case there's a spawning pool or an early spawning pool. But with the Gateway expand, you don't have to worry about that a lot of the time. So you just rely on your Zealots to pop out if there's any early game pressure, and then you go from there. But it's just small little indicators. It's not 100% for sure, but of course, it's more than likely. Revival going to be going up against a Forge Nexus into cannons. His opponent, or actually just Revival, he's going to go for that third base first. Of course, the probe making things a little bit difficult over the natural. So let me ask you, Ghost User, I mean, where does this map go in particular? Because Belshir Vestige, very different, one of the smallest maps next to like Neoplanet S. But how do you play this out in your ZVPs? What composition are we looking for, especially in this close position, bottom right against top right?
Well, normally, you just go for a kind of standard Roach Hydra into either Creppers or Vipers. Sometimes we'll see like +1/1 links. That's okay on this map too. And sometimes you can see the kind of muta transition that we saw last game. I know Dongregu, he likes to do that a lot, especially on this map. It can be good for it because the bases you take move farther and farther away from your opponent the more you take. So that kind of helps you do the muta transition, makes those expansions safer, as opposed to on Belshir Vestige, they get closer to your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So that style can be very good. Also, you need to be kind of careful because this map is somewhat common for timing attacks like Immortal All-In because of that kind of choked up area in front of the Zerg's natural.
Yeah, definitely a little bit hard because of these ramps over here. Very easy to just force field it off. Even if it's just two force fields, you can let a couple of units in, and then at any time I could just complete the wall and have a lot of your army sectioned off. So it's so dangerous.
And also that kind of like doodad in front of the natural. Kind of that like chasm-y pit thing, if you want to look at it. Yeah, that thing, it's very good. It's kind of like a force field that's natural. So it makes it easy for Protoss to force field around that and partition off the Zerg units.
That's so sick, right? Like, that's really what force fields are. It's just you can sculpt the terrain of the map, which is so powerful. And having this here helps out so incredibly much. Important that you say that. But Forge Fast expansion, oh, look at this. It is going to be the Robotics facility, as you were just talking about, or both of us were just talking about. I do like this overall for close positions. Really fast to get to your opponent's base. Obviously, the pylons can be hidden all around here, and you don't have to nearly worry about a lot of these counterattacks that go on too. Third and fourth gas pop up here. Revival should be heading into the main and the natural pretty soon with his overlords at the same time.
I think he's seen the robotics already. Has he? Or
no, he hasn't.
Oh, okay, that's just a cannon. Yeah.
He has not. He is just droning up from here, getting a couple of Zerglings just to protect against this early pressure that normally hits around 7 minutes, so that's very standard as well. But we have no motion. I guess the first thing we want to look at is what he does with this first 100 gas. Normally you will go into the lair and then get metabolic boost.
This is a nice push by Sage. I like this a lot with the robotics. Normally we see this kind of push if Protoss is going for a fast third base. So this will keep Revival kind of guessing as to what the Protoss follow-up is. I don't actually see this that often when Protoss goes for quick robotics, because that kind of delays your robotics a tiny bit to get that Stalker.
Yeah. Kind of interesting. And it's also interesting that Revival is not scouting at all. I mean, look at this. It's just this... No, there's no scouts.
And this could bite him. This could hurt him. He needs to scout this. If he doesn't scout this, then he could be caught completely off guard. And you need to kind of cut your drones at about 65 if you want to hold off an Immortal All-In.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be incredibly difficult. And Also, how many gases does he get? It's so incredibly hard to actually read this. Now Zergling's going to pop up here. They might have seen... No, they did not see the robotics facility
And
yet
it is going to be that all-in, I think. He's adding the gateways.
He is. And he's realizing there have been no Overlord Scouts, so there's no way.
Oh.
I mean, how many times does a Zerg actually just blind prepare against an Immortal all-in? And look at this. Spore Crawler is going to go down here. This protects against Dark Templars. It protects against Phoenixes as well.
He is cutting drones, though. I like this. If he doesn't build any more drones, I think he'll be in the best position he can to hold this off. It still can be difficult because of how this map is shaped around the natural, so we'll have to see. If Sage executes this perfectly, I think he might have a decent chance. Normally, these days, you hold off Immortal All-ins with Hydralisk and Zergling.
Yep.
And he's going to have to do it with Roaches and Zerglings. It can still work. And
But we've seen Parting be just so successful here. Look at this, the Roaches and the Zerglings hiding in the main base. This isn't to just hide and surprise your opponent. Normally, this is to protect against Warp Prism drops, where you have sentries sentries dropping in right here, force shielding the ramp, and then, of course, a slew of Zealots going to be warped in, or Stalkers.
he's pushing out kind of late with this, actually.
Yeah.
Normally, with the Immortal, and you'll have pushed out by now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why he's leaving so late.
Normally, like 8:30, you're already out on the field. So this is going to be a little bit interesting. I'm not sure either.
He can't get through.
And he can. It's just the sentry is derping. And there it is. So he pushes out. I mean, he is losing a little bit of time here, but I think at the same time he confuses his enemy. Revival not in the best position. You can see these Roaches still all the way over here. Zerglin will die, and that's going to cue Revival to push out onto the field. There is that one Warp Prism out. I don't think he has any observers to cut this creep, but oh, here the Roaches come, and good force shields.
Still, he let a lot of Roaches get in range of the sentries. He's already lost 2 sentries. A third one might go down as well.
Yeah. Definitely keeping him alive for a good bit, but because of that, he's going to have to warp in another round of sentries rather than warping in Stalkers that do a lot more damage here. But he needs those sentries, obviously.
I like how Revival kind of claimed the high ground. That's so important because normally Protoss wants to get up there and then push down into the natural from that position. But now he has to kind of find a different angle to attack.
Oh, wow. Revival almost had a really nice jump on the rest of those units. Yeah, I love that he actually talked about that.
It's going to be difficult to attack into this position, I think, for Sage.
I think so. I mean, it's going to come down to his force shields and also stopping the flank. He is blowing down these rocks. Unfortunately, I think that's actually going to come to hurt him a little bit later, as there isn't a surround prepared.
If he can get all the way up, though, maybe he can just force field behind
it's
him.
Looking good, and now using the hatchery as a lot of cover. Revival in a terrible position. Another warping of units on the low ground. A time warp to stop those Roaches from aggressing up all too fast. The force fields are
I think he's almost out of
perfect.
force fields, though. If these units from the right side all close in on him, it might be too much.
Yeah.
No, but he still has enough.
It's going to be tough here.
The
now,
sentries all have no energy left, but he's lost a lot of Roaches already.
That's right. And now the sentries are going to be used as just sort of a meat shield. Additional warpins are going to happen here. The spine crawlers coming into play really nicely. Finally, one of the Immortals are going to be killed. But you lose the mass of your army, and the Mortals still being alive. That's a big, big problem. The Roaches just die so incredibly fast. And it looks like Sage might be able to pull this off. Things are looking just so good. Another round of units coming in here. Oddly enough, they're going to be sentries, but that's just going to help a little bit later as he pushes into the natural base. Still a lot of units being hemorrhaged from Revival. Things are so good. And now the surround is going to come in here. Immortals are in front. It helps out with that Warp Prism and also the force shields that block in a lot of these Roaches. Revival doesn't know what to do with all of his units. He has to back up from here. There is a spy already up. A big ton of cancels happen over at the third base. Unfortunately, though, losing the Spire, losing the Evolution Chamber, that's a big, big problem. And Sage will take a gigantic advantage going into game number 2. He's already up 1-0. This might send him to the winner's bracket.
I don't think Sage can lose from this position unless he makes a monumental mistake. Because Revival, he's only on Roaches and Zerglings. He's behind in supply. Sage, if he keeps attacking, I don't think he can lose. And if he pulls back, he has an enormous advantage in the game.
Yeah, I can't believe this actually happened, too.
He's up 121 supply to 96. That's a huge lead as a Protoss player.
Yeah, if ever you're ahead in supply, it's normally a good thing. Now pushing in here, almost loses one of his Immortals, but doing a great job. Sage microing it perfectly, although his second Immortal isn't really getting into the battle, but you can see there's just so much stuff here. That's what it comes down to. Another warp in is going to be denied, so it helps out a little bit, but it's not going to be enough. GG gets called out. Sage will take it 2-0, ladies.